Hi, everybody. So thanks for coming tonight to learn about the Innovation Centers. Like Spike said, my name's Becky. I'm the adult librarian here at the branch, so I am in charge of all like the adult programming and services here at Garfield. So we have an Innovation Center here. I don't know, has anybody used our Innovation Center or heard of it? Okay, well, yeah, Henry. Nice, okay. Well, that's why you're here, yeah. So we have one here at Garfield. We have several others in the county, and they are kind of expanding. So Spike is passing out a list. It's a little outdated because it doesn't have Bay Village on it, but it has the equipment that's at the Innovation Centers here, Parma-Show, and at Mayfield. So those are the other Innovation Centers. And then we just opened one at Bay Village in April. So yeah, I know, yeah, some of you may be on the west side, so it's probably easier to get to. So I'm going to show you on our website how to find out, all the information about the Innovation Centers. But again, that paper that Spike passed out, that has the equipment that is currently at Garfield Heights, Parma-Show, and Mayfield. And it's always changing. We're adding new stuff all the time. So, and then it has some of the specifications. For example, we have a laser engraver. So it has I believe it has the size of the bed and all of that, the model number. So really the Innovation Centers are meant to foster entrepreneurship, it could be home arts and crafts, it could be entrepreneurship, but basically foster creativity and innovation throughout the county. So we have those. We're opening more. Those are planned for the future, and we just opened Bay Village. And then we also have, which I didn't mention this, but we have recording studios as well throughout the system. We have recording studios here at Garfield, so they're a little hidden. If you've been in the branch, you may not have even seen them. So I can show you just briefly where they are if anybody's interested.
What, you have like green screens and? Yeah,
we have a green screen video studio, and then we have an audio recording studio. And I'll show you, we have some at other locations as well. I'll show you those in a second. And then the other thing that we have in our library system, which is kind of special, is a memory lab at our South Euclid branch. So the memory lab is all about converting analog media to digital. So they have slide scanners. They have a vinyl to MP3 converter. So anything, again, like analog, they have a lot of stuff, a lot of equipment to convert it to digital media. So that's at South Euclid. So those three spaces, they all require an orientation, and they're all separate orientations. So. Did you have a question?
I always thought about doing it, converting vinyl.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
But, Amazon, not Amazon Music, Amazon.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Amazon Music and all these other smart, it don't make sense. I just keep the vinyl.
Yeah. And quite frankly,
like their home movies and things that content of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily commercial things.
Well, this is for me, but it's
I know there's a way.
yeah.
Well, we have a VHS to I think it's VHS to DVD converter. So then you would have to, so again, that would be, we do have like an agreement you sign, which actually does say like if it's a copyrighted VHS, like don't take your Disney movies and try to convert them. So there are some stipulations, but yeah, it really is meant for like your home media. So I'm going to show you on our website how to find more details about this, because it really is a great resource that I think a lot of people aren't familiar with. So our website, which we actually launched a new website recently, the web address is cuyahogalibrary.org. And I believe, is that on this paper? So cuyahogalibrary.org. So that's our website. If you go to services in this menu here, it has a whole section for maker spaces that you can click on. And again, there's kind of three main types: innovation centers, which has like the more fabrication equipment where you're actually making stuff. the memory lab where you're digitizing things, and then the recording studios where you can record audio or video. So I'm going to actually start with recording studios. There's several throughout the system. We're having some issues with some of them, so that hopefully they'll be back up soon. But Garfield Heights has audio and video. Strongsville has an audio and a video studio. And then South Euclid and Warrensville just have audio studios. So video studio is kind of special to Strongsville and Garfield Heights. So we have soundproof recording booths. We have Macs in there. We have the whole Adobe Creative Suite, GarageBand, microphones, keyboard, lots of good stuff. So some people just use the studios to use the Adobe Creative Cloud. They come in just for that, which is fine. So that does require an orientation. We have those several times per month. All right. And then the memory lab, that is just at South Euclid. And if you go to our website, I won't read off everything, but you can see kind of the equipment that we have in there. Again, it has the Adobe Creative Suite, cassette to MP3 converter, a converter for 8mm and Super 8mm film, VHS to DVD. So lots of different tools to convert your media. And that has a separate orientation you have to attend as well. And then lastly, the Innovation Center. So we're going to do an orientation later in a little bit. So you'll be all oriented to use that space.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
The same section is where you can find the limit.com training and the other kind of digital.
Yeah.
That would be useful for us.
What section is that?
Under the resources.
Resources.
And actually,
Oh, it's the wrong.
yeah, I can show you that in a second. I'll go back to this makerspace page. So orientation classes, again, you're going to have an orientation tonight for the Innovation Center, so you don't have to go through that again. But if you're looking for orientations, or if you're telling other people, these links are the best way to find a list of the orientations, because we have them at any branch that has these spaces. So, and we also have them virtually. So if you just go to these links, that's the best place to find them all in one area. And then if you make stuff, the maker spaces, if you click under Made at CCPL, the Innovation Centers, for example, it takes you to that page. There's a link for the orientation there as well. And then there's upcoming Innovation Center programs. So I think we also passed one of these out. This is our program guide. This is for the whole library system. So all of Cuyahoga County Public Library. And this has most of our programs in it. But if you're looking specifically for things that involve like the Innovation Centers, this is your best place to go to find those types of programs. And here at Garfield, we tend to do at least one maker program a month. So this is just looking at today. So you can see we have different types of programs, and these are more the maker programs. Like next Saturday, we're doing a resin program. We have a laser basics that teaches you how to use the laser engraver. So a lot of the programs are here on this link, but also the guide too. Yes.
You mentioned that you had more orientation and virtual orientation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have virtual classes as well for people that can't attend, due to their work situation?
Yeah, you know what we do? I would say the maker programs less so, but actually that's a good suggestion that I can pass along, because as things are getting back to in-person, we're kind of getting away from some of the virtual maker programs, but it is good to think about continuing them virtually.
9 to 5 jobs, so we can't make some of these classes we have scheduled like during the middle of the day. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, we have classes like in the evening.
Some branches, well, we I try to schedule stuff in the evening for our programs, or like a Saturday morning or afternoon, because if you're working, even to get here by 6:30, sometimes it's not enough time. So but some branches are doing stuff still virtually. It usually is like the lecture type programs, but I think they are still doing maker programs virtually too. But again, I can pass that along as a suggestion that people are looking for virtual programs. All right, so the innovation centers, we're going to go in there in a minute after we talk about some of this. But again, Bay Village, Garfield Heights, Mayfield, and Parma-Show. Those are the 4 branches right now that have them. You only have to go to the orientation for the Innovation Center once, and then it's good to, you can use any of these innovation centers. There is an exception though, the equipment that is a little more difficult to use, or there's like the possibility of a safety concern, you do have to go through a basics class before you can use that machine. So you would have, after tonight, you'd have the ability to use any innovation center, but you would not be able to use the CNC router, which is at Parma-Show, the embroidery machine, which is here and at Bay Village, and the laser cutter or engraver. It's the same machine, but that's at Bay Village, Garfield Heights, and Mayfield. So those, because they're a little either trickier to use or there's the safety concern, like the laser's actually burning materials, and there's a fire hazard component to it. It doesn't happen, but it could. So we have that special requirement. And they're also, again, they're harder to use. So without a basics class, you may be a little bit lost with that. And then I guess while I'm here, I'm going to go over the policies before we get into the space and get excited about all the equipment. So I'm going to give everybody here tonight a form or a couple forms to fill out. One of them is the innovator agreement. So this basically just says that you agree to use the innovation centers in a safe way and according to our policies. Our main policies are you have to sign this agreement, sign a hold harmless form, and then have a photo ID and or library card to use the space. So every time you come in, the space is typically locked. You check in with the information desk staff and say, I want to use the Innovation Center. And then they would ask for ID or library card. And if you don't have those, then we may turn you away. So that's just something to be aware of. You have to go through an orientation, which we'll do tonight. You can bring children or anybody under 18 into the room, but they cannot use any of the equipment and you're responsible for them. So we have like a heat press that gets very hot. So you just have to make sure you're keeping an eye on them. We do have safety supplies like fire extinguishers, earplugs, first aid kits, stuff like that. If you bring in your personal property or you have a project and it gets destroyed, this agreement says you're not going to hold us liable for that. Somebody actually laser engraved their MacBook. So it works, but it was their first time using the laser. I wasn't there for it, but the way it was told to me is their first time. So that's why we have that provision in there. If you bring in your MacBook, and something happens, we're not going to pay for it, basically. All right, this is kind of important. I mean, they're all important, but this piece is especially important. So if a piece of equipment or a tool that's in the Innovation Center becomes unsafe, or if it's not working correctly, get staff immediately. It could be as simple as like the laser filter is not working. So we need that filter to filter out all the smoke and stuff from the laser. So let us know that we're not oblivious to it, or you're not operating the machine without the correct equipment. If there's an accident, report that to us, and you'll use the space in a courteous manner. So there's no appointments. It's just kind of open as long as the library's open. It does close in 15 minutes before the library, but we don't have appointments for machines. So the laser, for example, is very popular. You may have 3 people trying to use the laser at once. And so just take turns. If you feel like somebody's if they're monopolizing a machine, come get staff. We'll kind of step in. You're not going to use it to make illegal weapons, items, things like that. So that's one of the statements in there. And then the last thing is that you'll follow all intellectual property laws, so copyright, things like that. Yeah. Does anybody have questions about that?
Yeah, it's Parma-Show. Is that, all out to the innovation centers? Parma-Show, is that? the headquarters or something.
Parma-Show is where our headquarters is. We have another Parma branch, Parma Powers. So the one on Snow Road it's on Snow, right after like Rockside, the Snow Road, and then there's Broadview.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
East of State,
Yes.
between State and Broadview.
Yeah.
Now, when we sign this, form.
Yeah. So the staff's going to put your information into, like, we track who's been through orientation so that when you bring in your ID or library card, we can look you up and say, oh, yes, you have been through it.
You do it now?
Yeah, we're going to do it after the orientation.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Training does the staff get, like, should we come when you're here, or is
Yeah, we get that question a lot.
all the staff, each branch, is there like one person that knows it, but there's on Sunday, one's there that can help you?
Well, I will say, so the way our Sundays are staffed, it's not always the staff that works here the rest of the week. So you can come in on Sundays. Actually, here's pretty good. We usually have staff that's Garfield Heights staff. And then we do have part-time staff. So if they're only here 16 hours a week, they're not going to know the machines quite as well. But we'll have like a baseline level of proficiency. Yeah. And like the health department kind of takes care of the space, so we tend to know a little bit more. But again, we all have like a baseline training. We get trained on every machine, so we know how to do maintenance, equipment, run the equipment stuff.
Okay. And I wanted to make sure you show the creative book.
Yes, let me do that next. The only
You were planning in there, I wanted to make sure that got it.
Yes, I will do that before we go in there into the Innovation Center. The other thing that I'll have you sign is the release and hold harmless. This is a form we have for any program that has like tools or equipment into it. So you can read through it when I give it to you. It's just that, again, you're not going to hold us liable. And then last thing I'll mention, or second to last thing I'll mention on the site, we have 3D printing as a service. Now, this is actually available to anybody. You don't have to have gone through orientation. So our 3D printer is in the space, but it's the only machine that's really staff operated because it takes hours to print. So you would submit your file through this link. There's a form you fill out. It has all the information here. And then you specify which branch you want to pick it up at. There's the list. And then we'll print it. So, yeah.
For the 3D files, and I think I've asked you this last time, do we have to print like the file before we send it to you, or do you have software in to take care of that to make sure it prints correctly?
So you would set up like the size of the item. We typically run it or print it with supports in a raft. So the supports, if anybody's not familiar with 3D printing, so that it doesn't like cave in on itself while it's still cooling. And then the base helps it like stay flat and not warp. So you would submit it as an STL file, which, it's on here. It's kind of hard to see. STL is just the file type. Every once in a while, we don't have to change the file though. So make sure it's the right size. Typically it's in like millimeters. So every once in a while people submit something, they think it's an inch. It's actually a millimeter and it's too small to print. We have problems. And then we add the support and the base.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Yeah. But that's really all that we change.
Okay.
We have a MakerBot. You'll see it when we're going. We have a MakerBot. We only have certain colors. I mean, it's pretty extensive, but under filament, for example, like, we'll glow in the dark. I think we have. So, like, if it's not on this list, unfortunately, we don't have it. So
You have to pay for the colors, different prices for the colors.
it's all the same price, no matter the color. So it's 10 cents a gram. If something's under 10 grams, that's a minimum of $1. And it usually takes, we say 7 business days from when you submit it. So, and then we actually have 3D design classes where we teach you how to use Tinkercad. We have one here. We have one recently. We have one coming up in October. Those are actually held frequently virtually because it's just a website. So people can kind of do it on their computer as we teach. So that's 3D printing. And again, you don't have to go through orientation for that. You just submit your design. All right, and then recommended resources. So the reference guide I passed out, there's a link to that. Actually, I wonder if they still haven't updated it. And then also on this page is resources. So this is where you're gonna find my CDPUG and those sorts of things. So I'm gonna click explore resources here. All right, so 3D printing, we have Tinkercad, that's the free website to design stuff. Thingiverse, I don't know if anybody knows Thingiverse. Okay, you could get lost for days. It's almost like Pinterest, but with design. So people upload their 3D designs. I can show you. It also has like laser designs. It has a lot.
Before you get started.
Yeah, you just want to like set the file to print without making it. This is stuff that people have uploaded. So like if you're like, oh, I need a laptop stand, somebody's already designed it.
So you just download that file and then submit that 3D design.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I click on it, there's you can download the files. Sometimes they make like multiple files because some 3D printers take different types of files. This only has one. An STL.
So what you can, you're talking about making things that are dangerous, like that two-stick crossbow. I know it's a item that people can print that. Would that be considered illegal to print?
That's a great question.
I'm just curious because.
If you submitted it and I wasn't sure, I'd probably we do have a gentleman that he kind of oversees all the innovation centers. So I would probably reach out to him and be like, hey, what do you think? So if you want to test it and see. Yeah, I would probably question it and ask somebody like, what do you think? Is this dangerous? Is this, yeah. Throwing stars. And then they also have laser. Sometimes people upload other types of things. So like laser cut, laser engraving. Most of the stuff is 3D design, but sometimes they'll have other things as well. So yeah, that's if you want to just download a file and send it to us. And Tinkercad is if you want to start from scratch, design your own file. For making, the other making resources is kind of general stuff. Cricut. So Cricut, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but they have a program next door for the Cricut, so we won't see it tonight.
I brought mine, so if you wanted to show it.
Oh, cool.
I didn't bring it into the car, I wasn't sure you needed it, but if you want me to bring it in, I can.
Well, yeah, we'll see if we have time. Bless you. That's not working, so. Has anybody seen a Cricut? Or I should say, has anybody not seen a Cricut? Okay.
You mean a cricket or a cricket?
Like, yeah. Not.
Like that,
So it looks like this. It's like a crafting machine. So it has like a blade you can input to cut. It scores with like a wheel. It writes. It does different stuff. And there's different models. So some Cricuts are more advanced than others, but there's lots of stuff.
Good enough to have a cricket party. Yeah.
Actually, if anybody's trying to get started with that, so we do have classes for that every so often. Cricut Design Space is a free software. You download it, and that's where you can design. But honestly, if you guys this is mostly graphic designers. I actually think it's more difficult than using like Adobe Illustrator.
I use Illustrator and then export.
Yeah, that's, yeah. If you know how to use Illustrator, I would do that and then import it to Cricut because, Cricut Design Space is to be user-friendly, but I think it's a little confusing and a little limited in some ways.
We all already know Illustrator.
Yeah, so you may as well.
When we give you an Illustrator file, you want it the AI file or you want it like an EPS?
SVG.
Yeah, it was like SVG.
Scalable vector graphics.
It does like JPEGs too. There's different file types. And then if you wanted to get started with Cricut, I would say create a free account with that because the design space, even if you don't design in that software, you're going to send it to the Cricut with that software. So you would need an account, which is free.
The decorations that they showed you were like using.
Oh,
I guess it was like the flags or the.
Yeah.
oh,
It's
cool.
not perfect because it's not a laser printer, it's using a knife.
Like a blade, yeah.
You know, so don't think those went through once and they all came out perfectly. We're multiple sheets of paper.
Yeah, and yeah. Sometimes it's trial and error. Yeah.
And I'm always trying to do things way too complicated.
All right, so you can see these other things, but I'm going to talk about Creative Bug. So let me open that, and then LinkedIn Learning. Do you want me to go over that too?
We've
LinkedIn.
done that before, and
Okay.
people need review, but we actually had a program just on that.
Oh, nice. Okay,
That was the previous manager, I think his name.
Lane. Okay. Oh, great. Yeah. So LinkedIn Learning. Yeah, they changed the name. It used to be lynda.com. Now it's like LinkedIn Learning with lynda.com. It's the same thing though, you know, lots of different courses, video courses you can take.
Where is this located on the website?
This is either if you're in the innovation centers, on the innovation centers page under recommended resources, or probably the faster way is under research and discover.
Research and discovery.
I just go to resources A to Z, but they do have like different categories.
Yeah.
Oh, like online learning, LinkedIn Learning.
The chat, they ask us thing, the chat works pretty good because when you have to know your library code. And then it doesn't tell you, so you have to find that out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you're doing it from home, if you're accessing some of the resources from home, it makes you log in.
If I do a search LinkedIn Learning and a page, will it show things?
Yes, yep. So yeah, we actually, with our new website, it searches a lot better. So you can search catalog, events, or website. I would do website, and then if you do LinkedIn Learning, there you go. And just remember to go through our website, because if you go just to LinkedIn Learning, like through Google, it is a paid resource. So it's going to try to get you to sign up for like a personal account. So you want to go through.
There's a way to redirect it, and you start at the library, it's better.
Yeah. Yeah, you can sign in, and I think it asks like sign up with your library card.
And then it takes, you have to know, see where it says your library ID.
Oh,
You
okay.
have to know that ID. You can ask me, I have it in my password manager.
It's like a code.
No,
It's
the
like a
library
code.
ID is like to the Cuyahoga County, it's like, it's for our branch, or for our wonderful library system.
Yeah. Does anybody not have a library card? I don't want to shame anyone. If you don't, you can sign up for one, and you will need a library card for the Innovation Center. Nice. And then we can reset your PIN. So if anybody doesn't know their PIN, we can reset it up at the front desk. They'll do that if you have your card or ID on you. And then Creative Bug. So Creative Bug is more of a like creative tutorial. So whereas LinkedIn Learning is really like more oriented to software and more technical things, Creative Bug is more for the creative side of things. So you would log in with your card number and PIN. So there are classes. They have like this new daily practice thing. So if you're using like, they have this Procreate daily practice. So it's like you do a thing every day on that. And then they have classes, and they break them down, art design, sewing. You can see all the different categories up here. And search. So if you are trying to do something on the Cricut and you want a project to start with, you can search Cricut, and they have pre-designed projects that you just follow.
You meant Creative Bug, right? Not Cricut.
Well, I searched for Cricut at the top here.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, thanks.
And then, let's see.
I see.
So I searched for screen printing. So they have like a screen printing for beginners, multicolor screen printing. The really nice thing that I like about this is, let me see. for the more, like for this, where it's more of like a golden project, they give you a list of all the materials you're gonna need. This over. So like tools, so if you're going shopping or whatever to do this project, you have everything listed that you're gonna need there. So that's really nice. And then you just watch the tutorial.
Great way to get your custom design onto the t-shirts.
I'm gonna go to like the instructional part of it.
We're just trying out one color shirt here. Now I've got my screen all pressed. Process to get my barley onto my screen. And you can also use the tracing paper stencil method to.
So they go through it like with you, and then you would just follow along. So I've heard, I mean, I've done one project on here, and then I know other people that have done several, and they say it's very easy to follow. And again, the fact that they give you materials and the tools that you'll need is really great.
I guess like LinkedIn Learning is like, it's actually like college curriculum or courses, a lot of that.
Yeah.
So it's more comprehensive. You can find all this stuff on YouTube. It's sort of, you might get like one particular problem or question you're looking at, like a.
YouTube is that good. A lot of amateurs on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, or the side, you have this line story. The quality would be much better for here.
Yeah. Now you're saying LinkedIn Learning or Creative Bug? Both of them, yeah. Yeah, Creative Bug is like, I mean, there's people that worked on like Martha Stewart's TV show or whatever that make videos. So it's really professional videos, and same thing with LinkedIn Learning. And that's nice if you want to learn something like start to finish. Yeah.
Yeah, I've taught myself software with LinkedIn Learning to teach step by step.
Yes.
LinkedIn Learning is great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. So any questions about those
You covered
resources?
everything I wanted to. You did a great job.
Thank you. Do you guys want to go into the Innovation Center
Yeah.
and do a tour? Okay. All right. Let me log out of this. Yes. And then I will give everybody, I have the paperwork in the Innovation Center, but I'll give everybody the paperwork to fill out. And then you can return it either like before you leave tonight, or you can bring it back, and then we'll put you into our system and you've gone for orientation. So if you go to Bay Village, you'll say, oh, in an orientation at Garfield Heights, you can use it too. You don't have to, just for the paperwork part of it. So if you wanted to fill out the paperwork before you leave tonight, like return it to me, then we would just need your library card. But if you have ID, I can look up your number too. 3D.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But also just the file type and the software you use. No, I have seen like, there's books that, show you how to drag your 2D design into software, make it 3D so you can print it out this way. So it's not impossible to like transfer a flat design to print out on here, but it just takes
Do you know what software does that?
I would have to look it up. I want to say maybe Krita.
What's it called?
Krita.
Yeah, it's an open source drawing program.
Just ask Henry.
Yes.
CRITA. I've probably used it.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
probably
Yeah, it's an open source. Yeah, it's one of the most popular ones out there.
we teach, we've taught stuff for teens and like older kids before on Krita, but I don't know if we've done anything for adults.
Yeah, it's available on all the platforms. You can get it Linux, Mac OS, Windows, Android devices, and Chrome. So
Okay.
Everybody here is going to have their own Macs, but are these kind of locked down? Like if you wanted Krita, you couldn't install it on
I think
these?
Krita's actually
yeah,
installed.
It is, okay.
Yeah, they
But
try to
I
put a
can't
bunch
do
of stuff on there,
Yeah.
like if we
That would
use it in
work,
a
too.
program or like in a library service in any way, they usually install it. And then these, so we have 6 Macs and 2 PCs. While we're talking about these, they all have the Adobe Creative Suite. They have Creative Cloud, yeah. They have that PC at least. I think both the PCs have Corel Draw, and then other software. Like I believe Krita's on all of them, or at least on the PCs. The one thing I will say with the Macs, they are not connected to as many machines. So the Macs you cannot use for the laser engraver. You cannot use it for a couple of the other machines. So if it's anything where you have to like send a job from the computer to the machine, it's probably not going to work on the Mac. So
if you ever want to be able to do that, you can install Parallels and install Windows on there, and then you'll be able to send it. That's how we do it at work for Windows-based
okay.
machines. If you have Parallels, you just have to install the drivers on the Parallel side for the Windows, and then you can actually use the Macs. I think most of these Macs are powerful enough to run Parallels. And I can show you how to do that if you ever want to go that
it
route.
would be like, all right.
Yeah, because then you'll actually multiply the number of workstations you have.
Well, these computers are pretty old, so I'm hopeful that we'll get like maybe more PCs because that's what people tend to use anyway. But yeah, all the computers are pretty locked down, so you can really install additional software that wasn't out there. All right, so that's the 3D printer. I'll just point out this is our little mannequin. So this shirt, and we have other examples, but this is an example of the embroidery machine. One of our staff members here took our logo, digitized it using Floriani, which is on the PC against the wall. So Floriani is a software that digitizes designs for the embroidery machine. So if you had a logo, the embroidery machine won't just read a JPEG, so you'd have to convert it and digitize it.
Are iPads very useful for the apps that you need here, or is it you really need the Mac or a PC?
What's that?
Okay, are iPads, can you use iPads for like, I know there's the Cricut software runs on iPad.
Yeah, Cricut you can use on iPad. I'm trying to think what else. Floriani is a paid software, so I don't think you would probably like install it or buy it yourself. Tinkercad, I believe, should work on iPads. It's just like a
Yeah, there's an app for that.
software.
It's also available on Android devices. I have that on my phone. So.
We should try it.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder to do stuff. You have to make, pre-made stuff. I mean, because the interface is so small, it's hard to make finer parts and pieces on there.
So yeah, the only thing, Cricut would be the one thing I would think that, because most of the other software is like a paid software. So, obviously like Adobe, you could use on an iPad, Photoshop or Illustrator. All right, so this is an example of the embroidery machine. This is an example of the sublimation. Again, it's one of our, one of our designs. So sublimation is just a process. I don't know if anybody's done it before, but you're infusing like ink into a material. So it can be fabric. We have some examples I'll show you in a second of hard materials like a tile or a coaster. So the thing that sublimation works with though is polyester. or like a poly coating. So this is 100% polyester bag. If you're going to sublimate onto fabric, it should be 50% or higher polyester.
Do you have those bags here, or is it something we?
No, that one you would purchase, yeah. The only things we sell are things that either go with the machine or people use frequently enough, like vinyl, where they would maybe want to purchase it.
Do you have a recommended list of where to go for such supplies? Or?
Not really. I mean, so for the laser, for example, for like acrylic, I think we tend to order from Johnson Plastics, but I don't know if that's because they do like bulk orders or, but for anything like this is actually like a Cricut bag, Cricut branded bag, because they have their own sublimation. Because I had a hard time finding a bag that had enough polyester in it to sublimate.
You can probably find it at Michael's because they sell the machines over there. That's why I came here in the first
Here with
place.
Joanne Fabrics.
Yeah, but they had a whole sale on Michael's on
Yeah,
the
I
dye
would go
sub
to like a
machines.
craft store, honestly,
Yeah.
for a lot of this.
I see America for big. I see
So
Palm
what's the
for
difference
big.
between like iron-on, like when you do it home, that looks like it melts into, like sometimes iron-ons are like, you got a shiny surface on it, and then sometimes it looks like that, where it like melts in.
This is a higher quality, like it's gonna stay, has more lasting power on the fabric.
Okay.
We're also getting, so Bay Village actually has one, but we're getting one as well, a direct to garment machine, which is like a printer. I don't know if anybody's ever used it. And you load, it has like a frame, you load the fabric onto the frame, and then you load it into the printer and it prints directly onto the fabric.
Oh.
And that works with cotton. So sublimation is for polyester items, and then direct to garment is for cotton. And both of these are lighter colored fabrics. So somebody brought in like a black sweatshirt, it
Not
almost
happening.
looked like it was a grease stain on it when they still get it. It
Black
doesn't
on black.
actually print white ink. So it's, yeah.
So that's the only limitation. It doesn't print light colored inks. It's
Yes, it's gonna take on like the color of the fabric.
gotcha. Okay, because
Um,
it's soaking into the fabric itself.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So it's not opaque. Check. Okay.
So the sublimation printer is under the projector that's hanging down, that little printer that says Sawgrass. That's the printer you would use if you wanted to sublimate.
What color ink is on that bag?
Like blue, yellow.
It looks like green from here. That's why I'm-
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if maybe the black.
Sometimes the color
beige
does
would
get
be
a
nice.
little like distorted, I would say, from,
Well, the very colored rooms.
yeah.
So just deal with like watercolors, right? So treat it like a watercolor
Yes.
type.
Or would it do
Effect.
like that?
So it'll take on the color underneath, whatever it is. Okay.
Yes.
You guys understand each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no different from printing. The printing process is the same way, offset litho.
Yeah.
Because the ink is so thin that you're seeing whatever materials underneath. So got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's not very opaque. That's what it
Well, I
boils
would say
down.
this is pretty opaque. I can pass it around if no one wants to see it. It like the color is a little more faded, I would say, than like if you were to print it on a regular sheet of paper.
Gotcha.
So this is a two-part process. So you print it on the sublimation printer. And it prints out on a special sheet of paper, which you do have to purchase from us. It's $1 a page, and it's 8.5 by 11 is the size. So that anything we sell, you have to buy in the front desk. But it's $1 a sheet for sublimation paper. Print it out, and then the heat press is how you set it onto your material. So again, you two-part, you print it out onto the sublimation paper and then you press it or set it.
Now, this is the sublimation, this. is-
Yeah, that little printer right there.
So the embroidery machine, is there someone that helps you with that? Like,
Well, that's
That's
why
that
we
one.
walk over. Yeah, that's the one that, let's talk about this one. This is the one that has a special class
oh, okay,
because it is a little trickier to use.
yeah.
So there's a switch on the back, and then this is all a touch screen. It's a 10 spool machine, so you can have 10 colors in your design at one time, without having to like swap anything out. And then we have a little cube over there. It's a little out of date, but anything we sell, not anything, but most of the stuff we sell, it's on here. So for embroidery thread, this is actually very helpful because you can see what the color looks like. when it's embroidered. So these are the colors they have in stock. Every once in a while, we have extra colors.
Is it hard to thread?
Well, so staff threads it, so you don't have to worry about that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
We thread it, we do like any maintenance, like it requires oil every day. If a needle breaks, which has happened, we change the needle, we change the bobbin. So all the like maintenance part of it, we would do. You would just be designing. So this is actually a touchscreen. It has preloaded designs on it. So if you wanted just to do like a monogram, you can just choose this way. You don't have to like make your own design, digitize and turn it over here. There is a USB port on the back, or on the side, so you can, there's websites that have like free embroidery designs that you can download or paid ones that you can download. So you can save it to a flash drive, and that's how you would get it off the machine. Or like I mentioned, Floriani is software that we have that you can use to digitize. Well, not digitize, but take your digital file and make it suitable for the machine.
You don't break it out into the colors then?
Yeah.
What would be better? What's best?
Honestly, I would start, if you're starting out with this machine, start with the preloaded ones. Because, and then maybe do like download from a website, like embroiderydesigns.com has free designs. They have paid ones too, so you just have to watch the price on those. So then try one that you download and then maybe try Floriani. Yeah.
If I was going to be setting up like a logo or something, how would I set that up? Just like an Illustrator file and then it converts in Floriani?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so Floriani takes like JPEG. It should take AI files. The last time we tested it was having issues, but like SVG, I believe. It takes a bunch of different file types.
Probably logos and stuff.
And it's smart enough to break it up into the colors you have available, or do you have
So
to sign
there's
it?
a setting in Floriani where you tell it like how many colors you want to break it up into. Like that logo, we probably broke it up into 2 colors. Even though it's only in one there.
Mhm.
And then on the machine, when you pick a design, like I'm going to pick a really, I'll leave this one because it's complicated. When you go to embroider it, it asks you what colors you want.
Oh yeah, and then you assign it.
Is there a list of your colors online too?
You don't have it because sometimes it changes, or like it's hard to get the exact color right.
Okay.
But yeah, this. We have the spools that we can show you, but this is probably the best way to see.
Are there numbers of the color?
No, it's just eyeballing.
It's highly sophisticated. Yeah.
Specific. What color profile is that?
So when you assign the colors.
Okay, that's awesome.
And just and you would go through a class for this, but the colors on the screen aren't the colors that are up here. So you just, there's numbers for each school. So like one is yellow, but here one says it's brown. So, because it's supposed to, the machine thinks you've set it up. It has like a guide, like, okay, brown goes on school 1 and black goes on school 2 or whatever, but we don't set it up that way because we're constantly changing things out. So
I can see that. You get little lights on for the different colors and they're not matching with the school.
There's a class for that. Right.
And then you pay per, so this is another thing we charge for because you can't just bring your own thread because it has to be a certain type of thread. So it's 10 cents per 1,000 stitches, which when you go to sew it, it tells you how many stitches. You're not counting. It has a count there. And then it's $1 minimum.
A little faster here.
And it says how long it's going to take. So 6 minutes. So it all depends on the size and stuff. And there's hoops. So we check out like any of the accessories. This one has hoops. There's different sizes. We have a hat hoop attachment you can put on and do like brimmed hats. So yeah, lots of stuff you can do. Bay Village has one as well. It's newer though. Same brand.
How long did it take for him to that shirt take to print?
I would say probably like 5 minutes. The more color,
CDPUG shirt's coming up.
There you go. See?
yeah. The more color stuff or color changes you have, the more time, and then the more likely like something goes wrong. It's cut in the thread, and then
Does it decide the length of the stitches or the pattern of the stitches that it makes, or does it?
I think there is a way to change it. I just use the preset, whatever the standard setting is, but I think there is a way to say.
I just wondered if it read whatever you fitted or whatever you wanted to print. Like say I brought in a simple logo that was 3 colors.
Mhm.
And, basically geometric shapes and, they're pretty simple. So if I brought it in, would it decide how it's going to stitch it?
So actually, Floriani, you can say like how wide you want the stitches to be, how far apart.
Because it has to read the image to know what it wants to do.
Yeah.
How it wants to print.
So like with the preset things, it's just like a default stitch
Right.
width or whatever, but Floriani, there is a setting. Actually, somebody had a Floriani file and when they embroidered it, it was like very far apart. So they may have changed it from the default. Just didn't work out right. But yeah, so then you could check out the hoops from us. Again, go through the class. And Spike, I'll give you Megan's card. You were at the end. So, but yeah, and then you can use the machine once you go through that basics class. Any questions about this one?
Use the machine. You mean we can do this ourselves?
Yeah, everything in here is self-serve. That's kind of the model. We're always here for help, but it's not staffed. Like I know some places are staffed in the room. This room is not staffed.
But don't forget to tip your librarian for the help.
So the first thing you're showing us was the bag. What was that called?
That is sublimation.
What is it?
Dye sub.
Sublimation.
Sublimation. And which machine over there does it?
That little printer prints out the design.
The one on the far right?
It prints it, and then you gotta use a heat press to set it into the fabric and stuff.
The one on the far right with the chair?
Yeah.
That's the printer.
Okay.
It's just a
Started heating
printer.
up by 11 feet, and then you take this and you put it.
Heat press.
Under the press.
On that. Okay.
So
I have a question for you. Like, obviously, like, there's people here, like, maybe starting businesses and like here's the incubating the ideas.
Mhm.
Do you have like recommendations for like where to go for like when you outgrow, if someone needs to outgrow what you do here, like where do you go to get embroidered? Like for printing, I go to Copy King, but for like embroidery or 3D
For good
printing,
things
do you
like
have like referral places for those people, or they have to find it themselves?
We don't really have like a referral. I would say, I mean, if you're looking for, some people have actually bought their own machines. They're so successful. They're like, oh, I'm just going to buy my own embroidery machine because I'm selling them so much.
So you should have a catalog here and get a percentage of the sale.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying to like actually purchase?
I know a local girl that does it if someone's looking for embroidery stuff.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like,
Quantity, right? The quantity you
Yeah,
sell for wholesale,
right.
yeah, you can.
Oh,
Or we have
you
those
need to
done
sell.
online.
yeah, like if you were.
Yeah, we don't really like, because all of this is self-serve. So if somebody wants to embroider something, they're coming in and doing it themselves. So we don't have like a list of like, oh, if you don't want to do it, go to this person. Yeah. But I will say like Case Western, Big Box, they're like awesome.
That place is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like if people outgrow these machines, that would be, but as far as like, I don't know, we don't really recommend like services.
Oh,
Like
okay.
you need 20 shirts or 200 shirts sublimated. We don't have like a, all right. I'm going to turn this off. So then over here is the heat press. So like we already kind of talked about, this will set things onto fabric and materials.
Translation.
So this works with sublimation. It's just like a giant, very hot press. So the top plate gets hot. So that's where you got to be careful. And then you put your material down, and then you can use
Flush it.
different methods. So this is also sublimation. This is a coaster and it has like a special poly coating. So you would just buy it like this. So these are both the same type of material. This is like a glass tile. The back had that poly coating, so they sublimated onto the back. So this I would just search, you know, if you're wanting to buy a material like this, like sublimation blanks, and then whatever you're looking for, like mouse pad or coaster.
But it's got to survive the heat though, right?
With a mouse pad?
Yeah, but usually if it says it's for sublimation, it's
It'll, okay, it's geared for that. Okay.
anybody else have questions?
How do we, sorry, I don't know if someone should ask this. Like, how do you know what you can sublimate on?
So for fabric, like lighter color, 50% polyester or higher,
Right.
you can do it on cotton, but it looks faded.
Yeah.
And then these things, like if you go to Amazon or a wholesaler or something, like it usually will say like suitable for sublimation.
Okay.
It has just a special poly coating on it. So the
So over
ink
50%
adheres.
polyester?
That's for fabric. Anything
Right.
fabric based, yeah.
Right, okay. I thought your bag was 100, so I was double checking.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
supposed to be more vivid, the more polyester.
Okay.
The more polyester in it, the better.
Yeah.
So cotton and polyester, you know, they come mixed, so.
Yeah, so you can do a blend. But if it's like 20% polyester and 80% cotton, it's just going to be faded. But if it's 50-50,
You put something in between, like a bag or a shirt or something, you do that.
yeah, if it's not, it should be flat, as flat as you can get it.
So like a piece of wood or plastic, or what would you do?
I wouldn't do plastic because this gets very hot,
Sure,
like
no.
wood or even probably cardboard. Or
Cardboard. Okay.
I've done like towels, like hand towels or
Yeah.
something like that. They actually sell sublimation pillows or heat press pillows, they call them.
No way.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So
Pillow.
pillows, so it like makes it flat. So you want it as flat as possible. So sublimation is one thing you can use with the heat press. You can also do heat transfer vinyl. I'll show you an example of that later. So the vinyl you would cut out, and then it has to be heat transfer. It can't just be regular like sticker vinyl because it won't withstand the heat. But then you would press it, and that is usually just for fabrics. You can't really do heat transfer vinyl on like a hard surface, at least that I've seen.
Is this machine, like, can you use it for iron-ons?
Yeah, you could do iron.
Like, if
Yeah.
I brought my own, printed out, like, I can do
Yeah.
that here.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I mean, the main benefit is it gets really hot. So for sublimation, like we have a sheet of suggested time or suggested temperatures and times, and most of them like 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So it gets really hot. Heat transfer vinyl is usually like about 300 degrees. So it would do iron-ons, and then you set it. There's a power switch, and you set it back here, the temperature that you need, and then it heats up.
Okay, when you say vinyl, one side is vinyl, the other side is cloth.
Well, it's like vinyl, and you would put it onto cloth.
Yeah, you want it on vinyl, but you want it on the vinyl, not on the
The
cloth.
vinyl is what goes on the.
Let me get an example, because that will.
Yeah, you know, like Naga hide and all that stuff.
No, it's not vinyl.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. You think of that? So here's an example. Did you just make it tonight?
I did.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. So this is like the vinyl cutout. They heat transfer vinyl. It's cut out, and then you have to weed it. So it cuts it out, and then you have to get rid of all the stuff you don't want to transfer over. And then once you do that, you lay it on to the shirt, and then you heat press it, and then this is what it looks like.
Wow.
So the vinyl, I mean, think of like somebody said like a Nike shirt. You have the Nike decal, it sits on top of the fabric.
Whereas the sublimation kind of sets in.
Yeah, that
here.
actually gets
Okay.
into the fabric.
Great.
Yeah, that's very opaque.
That's vinyl, yeah.
And what did you use to print for the vinyl?
Did you use Cricut?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so she used Cricut to cut it.
Wow.
Nice job.
It looks really,
Love
it
it.
looks so nice. It looks like a higher quality vinyl.
Is this? What'd you do?
Okay.
That's the way.
Ooh, yeah, looks like a better quality. Thank you. Yeah, there's different types of heat transfer vinyl too. Like we sell black and white heat transfer vinyl. You can get other colors. There's also like puffy heat transfer vinyl. That looks like better quality heat transfer vinyl. So you don't have to buy the vinyl from us, but we do have a couple of colors.
What machine prints that?
So that the vinyl you would cut on the Cricut.
Well, you cut on the cricket display. You just see the vinyl and you cut.
Yeah, you can send it to cut. Or we do have a vinyl cutter. I'll talk about later.
Sure.
Honestly, though, if it's a smaller design, I would just use the Cricut because it's easier.
Sure.
No, obviously this machine gets really hot. So when you're done with the job or whatever it is you're doing on here, is there a cool down period? You have to be next to the machine to make sure it cools down properly.
We don't have that policy.
I'm just
maybe
curious.
we should.
We have a commercial laminating device at work.
I mean, this is.
And so when it's on, there's a certain there's a certain cool down period. And you have to be by the machine, make sure it gets.
Maybe I'll suggest that.
I was just curious, it's like, do you have to
If
be?
you come in here, like, and touch it.
Well, because if you don't know the next person that already did it and you come in here and you get ready to set it up for your machine, you don't know what the cool down period is, or it has to be between,
But
each.
yeah, I'll suggest that 'cause that's a good idea.
So I was just curious. Yeah, because that's gotta hurt if you touch it,
Yes.
so. But there's no fan in there to cool it down afterwards? It just cools naturally just by itself?
It's not by itself.
Okay.
And also remember, like, think of an electric oven. I mean, this is powered by electricity, so it's gonna take a while to heat up to 400 degrees. People are always surprised that it takes so long. So, it is slow to heat up.
Is there a light on there that tells you that it's still hot, like an electric oven?
No,
No?
no.
Oh, okay.
It's well, how would you know? It's nothing on there.
Yes.
I was just curious.
Yeah, we're just like, this is the hot place.
You
When you come in here, always assume it's hot.
Okay.
See where the top is. Okay.
All right.
Assume it's hot.
Well, yeah, I would just make sure it's clear of any type of documentation. Make sure you take any glue or anything off, anything that can melt, take it off of it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make light of that
fine.
question.
So
I was
any
just
questions
curious.
about the heat press.
You say there's nothing on there that says it's 400 degrees.
Well, when it's on, so first of all, the other thing I'm going to mention is never push this down without this sheet. This is like a Teflon sheet because it will melt the foam.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like
They
a,
have a sign. Yeah. Yeah, yes, you can, a big sign.
and then when you press it down, so there is a panel in the back. When it's on, it tells you how hot.
Oh, there we go.
But when
Okay.
you turn it off, that goes away.
Do you mind showing us turning that on?
Yeah. And the other thing is unplug it when you're done because it is pretty powerful. So if it's plugged in,
That's not a good thing.
yeah. And then so it's off. So you plug it in, then you power it on.
2.1 gigawatts. Big smart ones.
Yeah.
All we.
Henry's gonna make waffles.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that, still my joke.
And then it tells you, so right now it's 81 degrees,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
You use it up and down.
And then you set it. So the first setting is how hot you want it.
Yeah.
So I want to do 305 degrees. You hit set again, how many seconds. That's just really a timer. So when you're pressing, we have a couple of laminated sheets that say, okay, if it's heat transfer vinyl, it's suggested to press for this long. So maybe it's 20 seconds. So you can just set the timer and it beeps when it's done.
Got it. So you're just following direction by that sheet too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
And then the second to last setting is Fahrenheit or Celsius, but you've already set the temperature. So it's usually set to Fahrenheit. And then this is just like a calibration thing you won't need to use. And then once you hit set again, then it starts to heat up. And you have to watch the screen to see how hot it is. It doesn't beep.
So you're gonna cycle through set like 4 or 5 times before it's ready to go, right? We're getting that?
It's going to take a few. Yeah. You'll hit set.
It go to 305 again.
Yeah.
So once it gets up to temperature, can you run multiple pieces through, or will it reset the timer when you,
Yeah, so
raise
if
it.
if I press it down right now.
Right.
and, there's also a pressure knob.
Okay.
So you should be able to clamp it down.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
see.
Oh, there you
So
go.
it's not just putting it down.
Got it.
There's not enough pressure.
Mhm.
You gotta clamp it, and then it counts down.
Okay. And then when you release it, it'll reset it basically, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. But it stays the same temperature.
Correct.
I
Yep.
mean, it
They
may
won't
cool down a
release
little.
that?
Okay.
They won't release the clamp for
No,
you?
you have to release the clamp, and I'm not using these, but it's not hot enough. But always when you're using the press, use the gloves, because it is a spring, so if you don't accidentally it springs up and you touch it. Yeah, so it clamps, you have to release the clamp. It just leaves. And then if it's too hard to clamp,
I'm sure part of what you're saying is the way it works.
yeah, that's what we have. This is the pressure knob. So if it's way too hard and you can't press it down, you can turn it to the left. It releases the pressure. Yep. And then the sublimation actually tells you what pressure. So some things you want a lighter pressure, some things heavier. So it just depends. And then once you're done again, you turn it off.
Is this common that no one's in here? Just one person?
You know, Thursday nights are typically less busy. And actually, our embroidery machine was broken for a while, so I don't think people have realized it's back and working.
We
didn't hear.
Meetings early.
Yeah, I would say Thursday nights are not as busy in here. Wednesday nights are pretty busy. Sundays, honestly, Sundays are very busy, even though we're only open 4 hours.
So you come to CDPUG meeting and then you come do your stuff while it's going on.
Yeah.
Sure. There you go. Multitask. That's great.
And I'll just show you some examples. So this is like a scrap area. So if you're using the laser, for example, people have left wood. If you wanted to test your item before you actually use your nice material. Cardboard is good for testing on the laser. I would just make sure it doesn't have any tape on it because it is burning. So we have some scrap materials. You're welcome to leave stuff if you don't use it, everything. And then we have examples. So
Glass is really effective.
oh, okay. Yeah, I'll mention that. So this is 3D printing. I just want to point out it can print with joints. So you can move items. We have sublimation I showed you. So laser we'll talk about next. You can laser engrave a lot of different materials and then you can cut different materials as well. So this is a leather notebook that was engraved on the laser.
You said somebody engraved a book, or what was that? Oh,
computer. Yeah.
Oh, computer. Oh.
What do you think it was?
I don't know.
I'm thinking, yeah.
You can do like slate tiles. So there's a lot of things you can engrave, but you can't cut because they're just too hard or they're too thick of a material. So slate you can engrave, but you can't cut.
Is there a recommended list online?
Yeah, I'll show you. We have a list in here too, because it also depends on the laser model. Some have different capabilities. Some we did a cutting board. This is an example. I'll show the glass first. So we have a guy that comes in here. He has a meadery. So he does different things for that. So he engraved glass on the laser. So we have a special tool. It's called a rotary tool that does round objects. Engraves them. We also did.
You know, so you wouldn't do a so it simulates sandblasting?
Yeah, I would say.
Is it something you got to put on it to do that?
No,
Or
just glass. And then
the
the
rotary
tool, the rotary tool goes into the laser, so it rotates the object, but there's nothing on the material itself that you would have to add. And then we also did like a tumbler, although it didn't quite go all the way through. So somebody else did a tumbler, and that it engraved, and you can see it better.
Why do you think that one didn't engrave as well? What do you
Probably
think?
the power. There's like a power setting on the laser that you
Okay.
tell it how powerful and how fast.
Is there a list of recommendations for that? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the laser, you have to go through a class as well.
Sure.
Okay, and then I wanted to show the CNC. So the CNC is at Parma. The CNC is a router, so you can cut and also like, route into different materials. So this is just a stand that they made on the router. So it's not as clean as a laser, but it has its uses.
Pretty good.
Yeah. That requires a class 2 because it's there's many steps that go into,
Yeah, minor details.
So those are all kind of just like our examples that we collect over time. We have an iron. Not the most innovative thing, but we have an iron and an ironing board.
I'm taking a picture for my wife.
No, can you imagine?
Oh,
Ouch. Dang, Don.
we have a sewing machine.
30 years ago,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
invent.
Okay.
So she hadn't.
We have an inkjet printer, so if you had like heat transfer sheets that you iron on that you wanted to print onto, you can use that.
And
And it
that's-
scans as well.
And that's what the iron's for, right?
And then we already talked about the sublimation printer. And then here's the laser. I would say this is the embroidery that's most popular. So this is an epilogue. You can see it here, Fusion Edge. This is a 24 by 24 inch bed. So if you go to other branches, they all have smaller lasers. So it's usually, I think, 12 by 18.
That's a laser machine?
Yep. So there's the laser head there. And again, it is burning materials. So we have a list of what's safe and what's prohibited. And notice that engraving has more things can be engraved than cut. Again, it's limited to like a certain thickness or hardness. So for wood, you can cut wood, but there is like a limit to the maximum.
Well, when you say cut, you don't mean right through it, you mean in it.
No, right through.
Right through it.
Yep. So wood, it's like ours cuts up to 3/8 of an inch. And then prohibited is lots of different chemical sounding things. So Lexan, or however you say that, that's the same material as the lid, so it's just not going to work. Any type of like plastic, pretty much, I would say, except for acrylic.
Yeah, because carcinogens, when you melt plastic, will kill you.
Acrylic is okay.
Acrylic is okay.
Yeah, that is why you don't do that.
Yes, yep. Yeah, anything like plasticky or Teflon, anything reflective, so metal, it's just the laser's going to bounce back. Mirrored acrylic, you actually can engrave, but the dull side has to be face up and the mirrored side would be face down away from the laser. Wool, I guess, releases cyanide gas. And then every time you come in to use the laser, we ask you, what material are you using today so that we know whether it's safe or not.
Right.
And there's some stuff that's not on here that is safe or it's not harmful, but it just doesn't work as well. So more so natural materials are what people would use, like mat board, paper, cork, glass.
So basically you can engrave in most materials for the most part.
Yeah.
As
it's a
opposed to
safe
cutting it.
list.
Sure.
But no metal, right?
No metal. Now they do make a special type of metal. I've never used it. I think it's called like a Lumimark. It's got like a special ingredient to it, from what I read, that like the heat actually activates the material and it looks like it's engraved. So it's not actually engraved, but it looks like it. But it has to have that special coating. And then we do have, this is from the user manual. So there's things that aren't on this list that you can use. Let's see an example. So like leather, no, leather's not, you can engrave leather, but it has to be pure leather. It can't be leather. So this list is a little more complete. I don't know, this is
there
plastic.
goes your 77 Cutlass Oldsmobile. You're out.
Marble, like you can engrave marble, so that's a cool stuff. But again, if you're unsure, or if you're unsure of the material, call us before you buy it. If you already have it, you're bringing it in and you're using this, we'll ask you what are you doing. And this does require a special class, not only because it's a fire hazard, but also because of the noxious. So,
After you make your pancakes, you can bring them over here and
Engrave it.
so much space on it.
somebody actually engraved, I think, or engraved or cut a leaf.
Really?
I've seen those. That worked out pretty well.
Yeah, so it's,
I've done you go.
they're like 40 minutes. So it's like a basic overview, which covers both the safety stuff, but also how to set it.
That's really cool. You could probably get that coded.
I actually sent a customer of ours from our print shop. She brought her business cards. We printed them on there and she was able to register them on here and die cut out all the sections out of it. She got really good at it.
Okay.
You know, she came back a couple times to Jacinda Walker.
Oh,
So
yeah,
she had
yeah.
business cards. She cut them, the die cut with a round edge like a teardrop. Then she cut out the little graphic elements on the inside.
Oh, that's
The
great.
first couple of times she did it, you know, she left a lot of burnt marks on the edges. I could see it. But then once she figured out how long to set the laser and all that stuff, she'd be able to
Yeah.
die cut them without any brown burnt
Okay.
marks on them.
Yeah, sometimes it is trial and error.
Yeah, but she was able to get them to register sheet to sheet, which I was impressed. I was going to ask you about that, but obviously somebody was able to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many good creative things that people do. I mean, especially with the
Right.
So you ganged them all up on a sheet?
No, yeah, well, I had 10 of them on a sheet, and 8.5 by 11, we printed them that way. But,
Yeah.
you know, there's still 10 up, but the laser's got to know where to start
Yeah.
to get it to line up on all the artwork. But she was able to get them lined up because she scanned it, and I think she put it on that computer over there to use, Corel Draw
Yeah.
with the template, and it told the machine where to basically cut. So she was able to figure it, but the trick was figuring out where the laser would start each time. Once you figure out where the first sheet did, then she was able to lay and create 2 registration points
Okay.
to lay the sheet in every single time.
Okay.
And we hit that mark.
Wow.
So
Yeah, our new laser actually has cameras on the lid too, so you can like see a preview of where it's going to.
I think that's how
It's
she
not
did it.
perfect, but it's
It's
pretty.
close enough for what she was
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
And then it has a filter and an air assist, so those are just like the accessories that you always need on when you're actually running the job to filter out the fumes and the smoke, and then the air assist blows out the flame so it doesn't actually catch on fire. And we do have a fire blanket and extinguisher, so.
Is there a class for that?
So then usually the cricket like kind of lives over here, but it's on a cart, so you can wheel it out. So the cricket, which I'm doing a program with tonight. And then I guess the last thing to mention in here is the vinyl cutter. So this is our vinyl cutter. It's like a giant cricket, but it only cuts vinyl. So it has one use. So actually I covered it up. We have like a wall decal that's cut out of vinyl, and I believe they use this machine because it can cut 24 inches wide, and then it's infinite length because you can just do like a roll or whatever. So if you need a really large continuous piece of vinyl, you can use this. But there is, so this runs with or connects to Adobe Illustrator, or there's Roland software that you can use. But there is a trial and error to it. It's not as easy as the
Is there a class on that too, or just?
No, we have like documentation. Actually, that binder over there is kind of your guide for everything. Again, staff is always here to help, but the binder has like step by step for each machine, how to do a basic project.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I was just going to quickly show the other machines because some of the other branches have quite slightly different machines that we don't have here. And then after that, we can just send the paperwork, or I'll give you the paperwork and everybody will be oriented here. Yeah, I can walk you, or walk you past them.
Your last show here at the library, I think, made from this room.
Yeah, I believe they have in the past, they have like a showcase kind of. Well, we should get that going.
Since Sarah's watching.
I don't know what's
Or just Mary's? Or Mary's.
So this is a direct to garment. It says coming soon, but it is at the Bay Village branch. So that's what it looks like. It's just kind of a larger printer. And again, it prints directly onto fabric, but it works with cotton. It's $1 per print. And then you just bring your own fabric. We're going to get that, all the spaces are going to get that eventually.
So I can take a shirt and come there and get a $1 print and then just put it onto my shirt using the heat press, and I've got it.
Well, this is like a heat press and printer in one.
It's like all together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the way it works is you print it, it has special ink, you put it, you load it onto like a frame, put it into your machine here, it prints with the ink, and then you set it with the heat. It's like an easy bake oven down here. You can also use, they have a heat press, you can use that instead. But
When is that expected?
I
They have
think
it,
they're
they have it,
probably
they have
going,
it.
maybe sometime in the fall. But Bay Village has theirs already.
Big Village has it?
They got an April.
Yes. Awesome.
I think they're getting one. I think every space is going to get one.
Yeah, I think because Bay Village is so new, they put it in there because they already had it in line, so they might as well put it in there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Is that full color or one color or?
I think it's full color. Now, again, it doesn't really print white, so it has to be a lighter shirt. We already talked about the embroidery machine, but Bay Village has one too. If you take the embroidery class at Bay Village, it transfers here, it accounts for that requirement, and same thing. The laser, so it's Mayfield has an older version of the laser, an older model, and it's smaller, so it's 12 by 18, and Bay Village has a newer model, but it's smaller.
So that one's not at Parma?
No. The shop on is at Parma-Show, the CNC, that's the router I was mentioning.
What is that there?
Router.
It's the router, so that stand I was showing, yeah, and there's an example there.
That looks great, that thing.
Yeah,
It's like a Dremel tool on steroids.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, basically.
yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Yes.
The large format printer, so this is at Mayfield and Parma-Show. So if you wanted to print large format, now it's regular printer paper, so it's not gonna be like a photo paper, but
Oh, okay.
it will print like posters or whatever. And it's 2 feet wide and then however long you want it, and they charge for the length. So it's 50 cents per linear inch.
Well, how wide is it, like, so
Up to 2 feet wide.
per inch, what's the width of the paper itself?
So
2
the
feet
width is
wide.
2 feet.
Is it?
2 feet wide.
Yeah.
However long you want.
Yeah.
Per linear inch.
And the color black and white is all the same price. And then it takes PDFs and JPEGs.
Wow, that's gotta be popular.
Let me see here.
Yeah, we're gonna be living
We
here.
have the vinyl cutter. The one thing that's not on there, I gotta update this, Bay Village, I'm not sure if they have it right now. I think they do. It's a vinyl printer. So like that just is going to cut, but the vinyl printer prints onto vinyl. So it's the same brand. It's a Rutland. And
So will it print and cut or no? Or just print only?
that's a great question. I think it prints and cuts.
Yeah,
I think it does both.
yeah, they have machines like that at the fast signs that will print what we call ready to apply transfers. So if you're doing
Oh.
lettering for like the vehicles or door signage, like your hours, like, you're printing like, our shop is open like Monday, Wednesday, and you want to put all that. That's what it's a machine like that. So basically it carves out the letter and it weeds it out.
Oh.
And then you apply the whole sheet to the door by float method by spraying water on it, and then you transfer all the letters on it and you press down on it to get rid of the air bubbles and water.
Okay.
But basically that's the same
here's
Like a
an
concept.
wrap.
example.
There you go.
Yeah.
Power wrap.
Yeah, sounds similar. That's because people always think that that's what this machine does, but it's just cuts.
Gotcha.
So if you were to let this fall into a reading sign, I don't know if you can see that, it would just cut out wherever the lines are, like the color differences are.
Yeah, so obviously you have to have a die line in there somewhere to tell it where to cut. Then,
Yeah.
okay. That's good to know.
So yeah, those are the machines. And like I said, they're planning to open more innovation centers in the future. I'm not sure of a timeline, but we're always adding stuff like the heat press. We had, I think that's relatively new. The Cricut we got like about a year and a half ago. So we are updating the space as we find stuff that people want to use. We have, when you check in, we'll ask you, are there any machines that you want? in the space. And actually a customer, maybe a year ago was like, I want a direct to garment machine. That would be awesome. And I don't know if that's why we got one, but enough people said they wanted one and now we have one. So it's great because we're always kind of looking at what is the new technology. So, yeah, any questions? That's a lot. And that's why we have those 2 special classes, because those machines are the hardest to use. So if you just went through orientation, it just is really like an introduction to the space. And then you dive deeper with the embroidery and the laser.
When was the Innovation Center open?
It's open every
No,
day.
when was it open initially?
Oh, this one. This one was open in 2016.
It's been that long?
Yeah. This was the first one that we opened.
Okay, I remember Lane, we did a class here with Lane,
Oh, okay.
but I was shocked at how far you've come since you've opened.
Yeah, we didn't have,
You didn't have half the equipment that you had in here. I mean, you had some, the basics, but
we
still.
didn't have the sublimation printer.
You didn't
we
have the t-shirt, the heat
press,
transfer,
yeah,
no.
We didn't have the Cricut.
The Roland was here. I remember
Yeah,
that
the
was
roller
original,
was here.
right?
I
That's
think the
computer.
roller embroidery and laser was
Mhm.
free.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
Original, and the 3D printer.
Right, that's always been part of that's a huge jump. And the fact that you have staff like you that know what each piece of equipment, that's been a huge sea change.
Oh, good.
Yeah, in the beginning, everybody was still trying to learn. Your learning curve was just as much as, the people that are coming in, but.
Yeah. I mean, we're still kind of like learning with everyone, so we don't always know. Like somebody wanted to come in and there was like a very involved project and I just didn't quite know how to accomplish it.
Yeah.
But everybody, all the staff again has like a baseline training so they can troubleshoot, they can walk you through a project. So
yeah, I'm impressed. There you go. Okay.
All right. Well, I will give everybody a form. And again, you don't have to fill this out tonight. If you think you're going to use the Innovation Center before you bring back the form, that's a bad way to phrase it. If you want me to add this to your account right now, saying that you've gone through orientation, fill out the form. And then until you bring the form back, there's not going to be a record of it. So again, if you want to use it really soon, fill out the form. And there's actually 3 forms. The survey is optional. So I'll give everybody one of these. We can get pens if we need it.
Thank you.
Oh, you already did it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I put you
okay,
in.
thank you.
Yeah. And then if you don't know your library card number, I can look it up. You need a library card though, so if you don't think you have it. Thank you.